product. Joining me to discuss this, two guests who are leading the fight against our pill epidemic. Pam Bondi, she is Florida's Attorney General, and she successfully passed legislation in her state to combat this problem. Representative Mary Bono Mack is here, a congresswoman from California. And your mission is really very personal as well. Can you tell us why?
Well, I've experienced addiction in my family almost my entire life. I've had alcoholism and addiction around me, so I've been through it. But most recently, I had, high school-aged children and watched not only them go through it, but their friends go through it. And you can't help but realize this truly is an epidemic in America. So as a mother, when you see it firsthand and you see people suffering with these terrible addictions, you just really realize you have to stand up and fight against it. It's time that our country wake up and recognize this is a very fast-growing epidemic, and it's going to, take way too many lives. As you know, prescription drug overdose deaths are now leading cause of accidental death in America.
They are for young people especially. I mean, and I keep saying this one bit of data that 2,500, like 12 to 17-year-olds, I think the data is, will abuse a prescription drug illicitly for the first time today and each and every day. Mary, what do we do about this? I know Pam, who's there on the screen next to me, has had great success in closing down pill mills, but Whitney's death has reminded us that she wasn't doctor shopping. She was just getting it as prescribed, and somebody prescribed it and didn't understand what it could do for an addict. What do we do with that, Mary?
Well, that's a great question, and it's one of the many questions we do have to ask. Why was she prescribed if she was a known addict? I don't know, sometime, and you would know, and I talked to you a long time ago about this question, and you brought up prescriber education, that doctors needed to understand truly the addictive qualities and understand addiction a little bit better than they did. I've been working on that in Congress, but, Dr. Drew, it starts with the very basic premise that Betty Ford taught us so well. You begin by admitting there's a problem. And in our country, we need to admit there's a problem and recognize, that prescription drugs are the problem right now.
I completely agree. And then I think we got to add a corollary to that, which is that the addiction drugs are our problem. Abstinence is the goal. Pam, you've had great success in your state. Tell us what's going on there.
Well, and first let me say we're blessed to have Mary Bono Mack in Congress fighting for our teens and for everyone with an addiction. The two of us have talked about it at length, and she's doing great things. And Dr. Drew, what we did in Florida was we passed extremely tough legislation to shut down what we call our pill mills, which are basically drug dealers wearing white coats, just sitting back there prescribing oxycodone, prescribing prescription drugs. So we have tough criminal penalties and tough administrative penalties, working with the Department of Health and the Board of Medicine to put these bad guys out of business, because we all know it's so easy to get. Other than marijuana in this country right now, prescription drugs are the drug of choice among our youth. And in Florida, we were having 7 people overdose a day, and it had to stop.
And you guys, you mentioned cannabis, you mentioned marijuana. I just want to slip in a quick story here. We all heard that Demi Moore was exposed to something called K2 or spice. Mary, I understand you're looking at this problem, synthetic so-called, very, very carefully.
Well, there are a number of people in Congress who are looking at synthetics. My biggest focus has been on prescription drugs. Again, we have an FDA that's in place. It's supposed to protect the American people and our children from the dangers of prescription drugs. We have a DEA in place that are supposed to protect the American people and our children. So I've really been focused on this first and foremost. The synthetics are especially troubling, but for me, prescription drugs, like Pam said, are the drug of choice. It's where the American people are going right now. And I have to applaud Pam Bondi, who's been one of the biggest warriors I've ever seen on this front in America. She has truly taken on the pill mills in Florida and done an amazing job. And in Congress, when you recognize, let me just say really fast, Florida feeds the entire eastern seaboard with the pill mills. So she is not only saving the lives of Floridians, but people throughout the eastern United States of America, as well as throughout the country. So my hat is off to Pam Bondi.
I mostly am just so glad that both of you guys are fighting the good fight. Pam, I've talked to you before. Mary, it's the first time we've appeared in something like this, and I will get you both back here to keep sending this message out loud and clear, because we all three agree this is probably the health problem of our time. And if we don't do something about it and really yell about it and take action, I don't want to think about how many more are going to die. So thank you very much.
That's right.